Hello everyone, Ayana Webb here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a super special guest. As you guys know, I have a few guest instructors who come in because one thing about me, I love teaching, but I also love bringing in other teachers who can teach the concepts that I do teach on my channel. But as teachers, we have different approaches. So you may find that one video might resonate with you, and then other people might resonate with other instructors who come on my page. So that's kind of the goal, is to get you guys different angles to make sure that you guys understand music and piano as complete beginners. So today I would like to introduce a good friend of mine, Miss Amie Webster, and she is an accomplished music teacher and she has her own channel. So if you guys take some time before you leave this video to go in the link in the description box, make sure that you follow her and subscribe to her channel. Hello, Miss Amie, how are you?
Hello, it's good to be here, Ayana. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So, for those who are seeing you for the first time, I would love to ask more about just your history, who you are, what got you into not just learning piano, but also going into the avenue of teaching piano. What kind of inspired you to go into that direction so people kind of get an idea of, who you are?
Yeah, you bet. Well, I was this enthusiastic 17-year-old who had a fabulous instructor who needed a holiday. So, actually, how I started teaching was my own teacher saying, I would love to go on holiday for 3 weeks. Would you be a substitute teacher for me? And she had 12 group classes and 35 private students. And that was my foray into the world of piano instruction.
That isn't, you went from 0 to 35 students. How did that feel? Like, what was that like?
Oh, it was wild. And the group classes, especially, they were a format where the parents attended with the children. So I was actually teaching the parents and the kids at the same time, as well as the private students. So it was like zero to hero, but it really was an honor and it really hooked me on teaching. And it made me very motivated to start where I was at and to keep improving over a lifetime of teaching. So that's how I got started.
That's awesome. So you started with basically substituting for someone else. So basically, how did you transition from being kind of like, the teacher for someone else to starting your own business teaching private lessons?
Yeah, that happened all fairly quickly after that. I was still pursuing my own music studies, but after that few weeks of intensive teaching, I think the very next year, I was 18 years old, I started taking some training with a program called Music for Young Children, and I did that. And I started my first private students. And again, it was all because a teacher was really supportive of me and became a mentor. So she recommended students my way. And I started as a travel teacher. So I actually traveled to their homes and taught groups or individual students from that point when I was 18.
That is awesome. Awesome. So tell my students more about, because I know we know that you teach piano on your channel. Can you give us a bit of a better idea of the types of content, the types of topics that you teach, and kind of what audience your content resonates with the most?
Absolutely. So when I'm teaching one-on-one, I teach all ages and levels. But on my channel, what has been a real mission of mine is to introduce pianists to music by contemporary living composers. So that was a really fun detour in the last few years. So if students arrive on my channel, they'll hopefully be inspired to be like, oh, wow, I love this music. This is who's creating it. And I usually try to introduce a variety of levels so students at different levels can resonate with different pieces.
That is awesome. That is, who are some of your favorite contemporary composers?
Oh, well, I have so many I love, but for example, Brock Chart is a composer who writes for like five finger pop and five finger jazz. And they're not
Mm.
necessarily pieces that are in position, but they are a fabulous introduction to styles that students on your channel might really resonate with and go, oh my goodness, this is music I would love to play. And another composer that's endlessly creative is Susan Staples Bell, and she also is a writer that writes from the beginning stages of music learning to up into those later intermediate levels. So She also writes ensemble music. So if you have students on your channel like wanting to play a duet or wanting to play an ensemble with someone at a different music level, she's a great composer for that. And she has old classics like Old Time Rock and Roll, and she has Great Balls of Fire and Ode to Joy. She has a really fun variety of music. So there's two, and I could go on endlessly on this topic.
That is amazing. I kind of had this idea, which had nothing to do with this video, but you made me think about something because I kind of been dibble dabbling with this concept. This is something I like to do just in my own private time, and I have not published a single video of me doing this. But I'm like, it might be a good idea. Is like I was thinking of a concept of like classicalizing hip hop songs, like songs that and the customer feedback there. But like, because you have like these hip hop, especially like modern day hip hop songs, like from the most unassuming artists like Ti or something like that, like songs that you would never have thought that could be converted into classical piano music. I was like, you know what? Because I would just do it for fun, but I'm
Yeah,
like, why not just put it on social media and just like play classical versions of hip hop songs and just kind of connect the bridge. I think that would be kind of cool.
absolutely. And that would be such a cool niche. So yeah, we're all
Yeah.
here on this video. We'll all be like, oh, I wonder when Ayana's gonna turn hip hop classical. So our listeners, we're gonna keep you accountable for this and
Oh
be like,
no.
we got some detours for you.
Now I have to do it. Jeez. But
Fun.
yeah, so I might I might actually I will do that. I just have to get some other things out the way. So just be on the lookout for that over the next like maybe few months or so. Because again, I already have arrangements, but that's the other thing is I have to figure out am I gonna do sheet music version of it or if I'm gonna just do like a performance version. I'll figure all that stuff out. But
Oh, you're gonna get there. And I have a new video on my channel that has some information about a program called Arrange Me, and that they look after all the licensing. So if you do the sheet music version, it was so super easy, and you can check that out. So
please send that to me. I'm not
I
gonna
will.
forget that. So all right, so I know that today you're going to be covering an extremely popular topic, and I've done a couple of videos on this topic, but this is something that a lot of my students really enjoy. It's about the bare bones basics of chords, and I would love for you to just go ahead and give us your way of introducing beginner students to chords. So I'm going to go ahead and just put myself on mute, and I'm going to just let you go ahead and have that.
Okay, wonderful. I will be excited. So today we're going to dive into the basics of chords, and if you've been wondering like how do I play chords and make music from them, like Ayana said, it's a very popular topic and one that's exciting. The other thing is I love this topic to lead you into some creative detours of your own and potential for improvising and composing. So let's get started. I'm going to flip my video so you can see my keyboard, and let's dive into the world of chords at the piano. So one thing that if you followed Ayana's channel, you might already be diving into using scales. We're going to use, starting with a major scale. We'll start with C major because it's one some of you have in your fingers already. And then I'll show you how to build chords from the scale notes. So we'll just play C major to get started. You can warm up your own fingers as well. Here we go. Now, in music learning, each of the scale degrees have a number assigned to them. And the great thing is that if you can count to 8, you're golden because there's only the 8 tones and one of them's repeated. So we have the note degree 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 8th note we actually call 1 again. And why that's exciting and important is we're going to use those scale tones to create piano chords. And this is something just so much fun, and it will start to be building blocks for your own creative pursuits at the piano. So our first note of every major scale is called 1. And in a major scale, the triad that we build on that note is going to be called a C major triad. And it's going to be built using the first note of the scale, the third note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale. And the way that the the notes form together and play that triad, it will always be a major triad if it's built on the first note of a major scale. So again, we have C major on the first degree of the scale. The next note you'll find in that C major scale family, or the next triad you'll find, is one called D minor. I'll play it for you. You can feel that the color of that chord sounds different than the major. So we have a major and then a minor. And what I love is starting right from the beginning, listening to the different colors or sounds that you're creating with these chords. Now, C major has no sharps or flats. It has none of these black keys. So every triad that you create using C major as this kind of mother key, the mothership here, will be all white note triads. So now we have C major is 1, D minor is 2. Next up is E minor. Now you're probably wondering, well, how am I going to know if it's major or if it's minor? And that part is a little trickier when you're starting, because my ears are maybe getting used to those different sounds and colors, but your ears might think, well, it sounds like a beautiful sound. Maybe that means it's major. So that takes some time, and I'll show you a little way to tell for sure if it's major or minor in just a moment. So next up we have number 4. Number 4 is F major. 5 is G major. Again, we're identifying it by its root note, or the first tone here. 6 is A minor. Now we have a really special triad or chord on the 7th tone, and it's called a diminished triad. And we won't get in as much to the diminished, but I'll just tell you that it's really special. It's smaller than a minor triad would be like this. And it's just half a step smaller than the minor. And we know that it's that for a few different reasons we'll go into later. Lastly, we're back at C major. So now you can know that you can create 7 different triads or chords at the piano just using any major scale you know. So that becomes quite exciting. I'll let Anna decide if she wants to link this, but I've made a little creative foundation sheet that shows you the scale, and often we use the Roman numerals, and this is really small on the screen, but we'll maybe link that sheet for you if anyone's interested. I had promised that I would tell you how to tell if it's a major or a minor if your ears aren't doing that for you, and it's okay if they're not. So a major triad is created with this like recipe of 4 semitones or half steps. So we can build a half step at the piano from one note to the very next note. And it has to take in consideration, if you're starting on a white, it would be to the next black. And then this is a semitone, that's a semitone, and this is a semitone or a half step. So in a major triad, we have 4 semitones at the beginning. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our first part of our triad. The next part has 3 semitones. So 4 plus 3, we have, starting on E, 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of, you might pause and think like, oh, what did I just hear? Maybe I need to listen to that again and see, will it actually be true? So if you're looking for any major triad, you can know that it's built with 4 half steps first in root position and then 3 half steps. And that will always create the sound of a major triad. Let's check some of our other major triads and see if that actually follows. So we had an F major on 1, 2, 3, 4. we have F major, and let's see, we've got half a step, 2, 3, 4. So there is the first half of your triad. Then we want to see if 3 more semitones is going to bring us to the right note. So we start on this one. 1, 2, 3. So sure enough, it builds us an F major triad. So if you're trying to figure out if the triad you're playing is major or minor or something different, you can check and see if you have 4 semitones or half steps plus 3 semitones, then you're going to be building a major triad. So today we've just focused on the C major scale and finding a triad on each degree of the scale. So 7 fresh chords plus an extra at 1 again. And the next thing I would usually introduce is a detour into the minor. And I love the colors of finding triads from the minor scale as well. But before we do that, I would love to introduce you to how you can use those triads for some creative detours. Because sometimes if you're just playing these triads, you're thinking, what am I doing? And is this going to turn into music? And it really can. So once you can play some of these triads, and I'll tell you that lots of people introduce triads and chords first, but they are a little bit to get used to for your hands. So it's a great exercise to play them and then just release the wrist into that. I hope you can see a little bit of that there. Sometimes I use the pedal as well to create some nice resonance. So once you can do that, now you can take 4 or 5 triads and create a different order. So you might think, well, I wonder what it would sound like if I played C major and then I went to A minor and then to F and then to G. Now you might recognize that because it's a little ditty called Heart and Soul, like, and Ayana's probably going, oh my goodness, it made an appearance on my channel. So songs are often made up.
Yes. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let me be quiet.
That's right, I love it. So we make up songs using different chord progressions. So now that you have some in your fingers, it's fun to play around and go, well, what does it sound like if I put them in different order? So here's another order you could look at. So that was 1 to 3 to 4. And later, when you're playing around at the keys, that's the start of improvising and composing. So I might think C to E to F. So that's just building out of those chords that you're learning and picking different orders. Now, some triads will create more of a pull towards the next triad, and there can be a lot of rules for traditional harmony when we're trying to write, chorales for a choir or something, or write in the style of Bach. And I've done that before, but now with students, I love to start with open ears and explore finding sounds that you love at the piano, because I think students create the best music because they don't have any rules in their mind yet. And you might stumble across sounds that you don't love as much. You might go, oh, maybe I'm going to do this. And you're like, well, where do I go from there? I'm not sure. And you're like, okay, well, that's not quite what I imagined. But even in detouring to those type of sounds, you're going to learn more about music, more about what sounds you love, and it's a sneaky way for us teachers to see students playing more at the piano. So I hope you enjoyed that introduction to finding chords at the piano in the key of C major. It also works in other major scales. So if you've learned scales, say in G major, you can build a triad or a chord on each one of those notes as well. And you'll just watch for F sharp. When F sharp arrives in your scale, you'll be wanting to make sure it stays in your triad. So this would now become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1. So you can use this fun recipe to find chords in any key. And I bet if you link a little note in the comments and say, I want to know what the chords are in A minor, that Ayana or I can figure out a way to make sure you can start finding triads and chords. I use those words interchangeably, but triad is those 3 notes at a time, and a chord is any cluster of more than one note at a time played together. So sometimes I use both those terms. But if you say we want more in the minor, you can let Ayana know. And she's a wonderful teacher doing great things on this channel. So it's an honor to be here. And thank you for hanging out with me and making some music today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just giving myself a moment to get myself how do I remove this pin? Oh, here we go. All right.
There.
Yes, that was amazing. I think I already know what kind of title I'm going to put for this video. It's probably going to be along the lines of like how you can take basic chords and make up your own piano songs. I think that would be a great approach to that. So that was amazing, and I love how you used the scale degrees to let people know, hey, most of the songs that you hear, you know, in Western music, whether even like as far as genre is concerned, all of it is pretty much stripped down to just the chord numbers and chord progressions. And the reason why I like that approach is because I think that most musicians or most beginner learners, they tend to complicate the whole idea of chords in their mind, and so it's like once you strip it down, it's just like, no, this is just chord number one, this is number two, this is number three, and they go, oh, I understand it. So, and
Yeah.
also for those who need the complete basics, and then be able to come back to this video, I will post a link for my piano for beginners. Like if you need to know what in the world is a C, so I'll post that in the description box. So if you want to go ahead and just watch that video and then come back, you'll see it all kind of connect. So again,
Oh,
thank you
good.
so much for bringing this approach. I think my students and my viewers will appreciate it as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, I hope it's a ray of sunshine in there. And I thought the pacing seemed comfortable, so I didn't go into the minor, but I thought you've got lots of ways to expand on that
Hmm.
too. And so it'll just give learners that little bit of curiosity approach. So, yeah, I hope
Yeah,
that's helpful. So, well, you're
I
doing great.
always I always tell students, major sounds happy, minor sounds sad, and diminished sounds scary. Like dun
Yeah,
dun dun.
I know.
That's like my
Yeah.
best way to,
Yeah.
right. So I think that kind of goes into like a whole nother aspect of like learning songs by ear. Again, I'm just kind of going off on a tangent, but I think especially when students are first learning, they think that learning by ear is totally different than learning from sheet music or totally different than, just learning by watching. I'm like, no, they're all three sides of the same coin. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's just, whether you see a chord on the piano, whether you hear a chord or if you see it on sheet music, they're all representative of the same chord. It's just, portrayed differently. So yeah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
great.
I love that. Well, that'll be so fun, and it's an honor to get to show up. I was kind of like, oh wow, what, like, how do you present it? It's always so different on someone else's channel. You're like, ah, but
Yeah, no, I'm the one that I keep it super simple. And I think maybe in the coming months I might start doing more YouTube lives because before I would use Zoom and I would just invite people onto Zoom. But the problem is if you're on Zoom, you only are able to access it if you're on Zoom, and then there's no way to really promote it on a public channel. So I'm like, okay, if I could just kind of handle two things at once where I'm doing a presentation, but I'm also putting it online for new viewers to come in and see it and, you
yes.
know.
And StreamYard is so fun for that. I can't even say how much I love that as a platform to just go live because you can
Hmm.
also present if you have any slides or stuff, and you can
Yeah.
have it has a waiting room as well. So you can have multiple presenters waiting in the background, and then it's really easy to pop them in and out, even on the free version. So I've loved that.
Okay,
I'd like to
perfect.
get back to live streaming again too. I had to pause with, I've had my kids lots more than usual, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun.
I'm
So
gonna have to look into that. So, but
yeah, yeah,
thank you
you,
so much again, and hopefully we'll be able to do another collaboration soon. So I think that'll be awesome.
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for everything you're doing in the creator space and in your Facebook group. It's always inspiring. So I appreciate it, Ayana. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much again for agreeing to do this for my viewers because I know that we're all busy. So for you to even say yes to this, that was an honor for me. So thank you
Oh,
again for that.
yeah, you're so welcome. Such a treat. So I hope your week goes well and I hope the upload goes smooth. If you have any trouble with audio or anything, just reach out and I could always just do the segment and send it your way. So,
Yeah, for sure. And for those who are watching, this is pretty much the end of the video. Please, if you like the content, make sure that you subscribe both to my channel as well as Miss Amy's channel. I will have a link for her channel in the description box. Make sure that you follow both. And if you do have any questions, like she mentioned, just put it in the chat box. If you have any music specific questions, just put them in the not the chat box. This isn't a live comment section. Wherever you type in your your stuff, right?
yeah.
Just put it in there and I'll be sure to answer it, or Amy will be sure to answer it. And turn the notification bell because just because you subscribe doesn't mean that anytime we upload a video doesn't mean that you'll get notifications. So, and yeah, so I'm not quite sure how often. How often do you post content on your YouTube channel? That way they know what to anticipate.
Oh, I'm a little bit of a hyperactive poster, but it's usually in the 2 to 3 videos a week, but it's scaled back for the summer. So, yeah,
Okay.
I have a
Yeah.
way too much fun over there.
Okay. Yeah, because it's good to know because you don't want viewers to be like, are they going to post every single day? I want to be getting notifications every hour. Like, no, it's just
No,
trust me, we will not bombard you. So,
no, no.
so, but thank you again, and again, make sure that you guys subscribe to stay updated on content in the future. So, I will see you guys soon, and be on the lookout for another video next week. So, take care, guys.
Bye bye.